Now, when I was a little boy, my grandpa used to tell me stories, and this is one of the stories that he used to tell. It's about a hoop snake. Now, do you know what a hoop snake is? You know, one of those big old long, copper-headed rattle moccasins of a snake that can coil himself up on the ground and form a circle, stick his tail in his mouth, and then he gets up and rolls down the hill chasing you like a wagon wheel. Now, everybody knows that a hoop snake has a big old stinger on the end of his tail. And if he catches you, well, he'll sting you with that stinger and you're done for. Well, one day, I was down in my garden, hoeing corn, and I heard a little noise up in the woods behind me, and I looked around, and don't you know, there was a hoop snake coiling up and getting ready to come sting me. Now, there's only one way to get away from a hoop snake, and that's to jump through his hoop. Well, I knew this, and I held my ground, and in a few minutes I heard him rolling down the hill towards me. And just as he got right up to me, I jumped to the side and jumped right through his hoop. Well, it made him so mad that he stung my hoe handle with his stinger, and then he crawled on off. Well, I didn't think much about it, and I went back to hoeing corn, but in a minute or two, I could tell that hoe handle felt unusually large, and I looked down at it, and don't you know, where that snake had stung that hoe handle, why, it was swelling up. Well, it got so big that it split the hoe head right off the hoe handle, and before long it was too big for me to hold. I finally threw it down on the side of the garden, and by that time it was a big log. And I thought, there's a lot of good firewood in a log that size. I ought to go get my old mules and take it down to the sawmill. Well, sir, I went to the house. I got my two old mules, Bert and Ert. I brought old Bert and Ert down there, and I hooked him to that huge log of a hoe handle, and we drug it down to the sawmill where we had it cut into lumber. And I got enough lumber out of that hoe handle after it swelled up to build 2 log cabins and a chicken house. Well, my wife said they would look nicer if they was painted, so I looked around the place, and all I could find was 1 gallon of old red paint, and I knew that wasn't enough. And finally I found some turpentine, and I thought, now if I stretch that paint by mixing this turpentine with it, maybe I'll have enough to paint those log cabins and that chicken house. So I did, and I began to slap the paint on those things, and I hadn't no more than got those log cabins painted and was just finishing with the chicken house when all at once I heard the awfulest creaking and groaning and moaning and straining, and I looked back down through there, and don't you know, the turpentine in that paint was taking the swelling out of the wood, and those log cabins were beginning to shrink. Well, sir, when they shrunk all the way back down, I had to sell both of those log cabins for bird houses. And it's only a good thing I hadn't put my chickens in that chicken coop, now ain't it?